Take it away.
Thank, thank you, Erica. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us with this new TADWIC work group session, task group session. The um, we have the agenda. Can you guys see the previous chat? If not, I
I'll go
can.
ahead and post that again for you.
So my name is Yasin Bakış. I'm working at Tulane University Biodiversity Research Institute. I'm a senior manager of biodiversity informatics, and this task group has been formed by me and some other folks that we have been collaborating with. And uh, I have a brief introduction of my team members here. Let's start with Brian is here. Brian,
Hi, folks. I am Brian Sidlauskas, also at Tulane University. I'm the director of the Tulane University Biodiversity Research Institute, which also employs Yasin, but my training is much more in ichthyology and evolutionary biology than it is in biodiversity informatics. But I'm happy to be part of this, and I'm very excited about the overall direction the project's going.
Xiaojun.
Hi, I'm Xiaojun Wang from Tulane University Biodiversity Research Institute. I'm a software developer. I work on the technical side of the biodiversity data systems, like database design, API development, and web applications. My recent work is working with Dr. Yakis with the feature project, which is how I got involved in image quality and AI readiness for biological collections. So I'm excited for working with you. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Andrew.
Hi everyone. My name is Andrew Jones. I'm also at the Biodiversity Research Institute. We role is more hands-on with dealing with fish.
Thank you. Is Bahadur is here? Is not. Um, let's do a round. Mm, uh, Welcome to the participants. Briefly, can you give your name, institution, and maybe position or your relevancy with this group? Um,
And
should we do?
sometimes we'll have folks do that in the chat just so that we
Oh,
can continue to see who is from where. So if you feel like introducing yourself in the chat, I think that would be a good way.
perfect. Thank you, Erica.
Yeah.
Um, we have the agenda items here. I will continue with the next item. Um, the question why IQAir, I have a presentation here. Let me share my screen. You guys can see my screen, I
We
believe.
see, yeah, we see, yeah, and now it's in presenter mode. That looks great.
Um, so BGNN stands for Biology Guided Neural Network, and imageomics is image analysis. Those are two separate proposals back to each other, projects that we have done back in five and a few years ago. And then the aim was uh, here. Capturing all the images from the data repositories and finally training a model for different purposes. And we are mainly working on fish. However, the data sets look like this. There are all those kind of fish images that we need to work with. And those images still belong to those fish. However, different type of digitization methods. And then there are different data quality issues such as file sizes or dimensions. And then instantly we realized like we are dealing with a very, very big issue, and this is 80% of the task. If you are trying to work with images, doing any kind of computational analysis, then 80% of the time you are doing data processing. And then we built this beautiful workflow at the end of BGNN project. I'm not going to give you details of all those workflows, but the aim is here gathering the digitized images and at the end providing those images as in the data archives. And then one of the attempts was very successful. We hired contractors and then we asked those about 22 questions, and we tell them, hey, like, can you look at all those images and can you tell us what are the answers of those questions? And that worked very well. And then another collaborator from Drexel University, they started working on automated metadata extraction from those images, and that worked very well as well. We have been using all of those for filtering or data pre-processing purposes. And then once we started working with the images, then we started capturing more and more metadata. And we got very confused. We got drowned in all of those metadata, how we are going to keep those. And then we said, okay, we are going to build a vocabulary. And then we put around 100 now, probably 150 to 200 uh, terms into vocabulary. We call it air vocabulary. Ours is specifically fish air, but air comes from AI readiness. So we believe that we aired or made the dataset AI ready, and this is reachable from the fishair.org. And then in our mind, we said, okay, we call this Fisher vocabulary, and then we will share this with the Tadwig group, and then they will share it with other people like data repositories, and we are downloading data from those data repositories. So win-win situation. And then our schema looks like this. We have four focuses: multimedia, extended image metadata, image quality metadata, and batch metadata. And then those are the data repositories, and this is how we processed all the images from those repositories, the numbers, and the taxonomic diversity, and the data sets and batches. So batches and data sets are different from each other because from the same repository, there could be different batches. Even if it is from the same museum, there could be different project or different purpose or different time. So those all means a different batch. Also, we keep the intermediate products in our system. I will explain later, and then we call those batches as well. And this is what licenses look like with the numbers and everything. And then number of images per species, number of specimens was very important in our case because we need to know how much data we have available for ML purposes. And then we used Arc server, Arc system as a global unique identifier. And this is what our API look like. And then data provenance, another important thing for each step that we are creating the data from the original data. Now we have new data and we have to keep that record, that relevancy, the provenance information. So also those came in batches, and then we need to keep those batch information in somewhere as well. So those are all in the image quality and AI readiness metadata. And then if we have, this is like a sample project. If we have landmarks like this, and we are trying to landmark all the fish from the museum specimen images. This is how it is going to work. So on the right, you see the landmarking pipeline, and then we keep this process recorded in fish air system in this form by using batch information and then assigning ARC IDs and then creating packages. And then this keeps going again and again and keeping the metadata extracted from those files. And then that's mostly it. What we have done finally is like, of course, some of those are hypothetical. Most of them are already performed. And eventually we will have that kind of file folder hierarchy for that is ready to be analyzed by the machine learning workflows. So I will stop here. This is our team members again. I will stop here and stop sharing. So this
That
is
real quick, that was those slides were great, and some people in the chat were wondering if you maybe have a copy of the slides that they might be able to view on their own time or a little more slowly, or if not now, if that's something you might be able to make available later.
yes, if they can share their emails with me, I can send them the slides, or I can put them online somewhere and share the link. We will have a form that I will ask them to fill out if they are interested, by the way. Um, let's see what we have. So in one of those TADWIC meetings, I guess, uh, I met with a TADWIC person and we got together. He was from the audiovisual group, and then I mentioned about our terminology, and I wanted those terminology to be donated to the relevant group under TADWIC. And this is how IQA task group formed. And then next item is vision and scope of the IQA. We are aiming, so there are a lot of metadata available in the data available, digitized data available all over the data repositories, such as IDIGBio, GBIF, and MorphoBank, MorphoSource, and Great Lake Invasives Network, like billions of data, digitized images, and there are still other videos and other things. Those are all visual that we are working with. And then we realized the metadata is that we are looking for is not available, and the metadata, the data inside the metadata, the values are not there if the metadata is available. So our focus mainly is working on those terms that should be required by the end user, consumer, data consumer, and then filling those information, the values inside the data repositories, the metadata fields. So basically, those are the things that we want to focus on in this task group. And if I list them, they are basically AI readiness and image quality metadata, defining AI readiness concepts, image quality dimensions and metrics, benchmarking, and validation, and metadata and vocabulary development by standardized pre-processing terminology, provenance metadata, which is very important in in our situation, and then tracking, pre-processing, and transformations, and then data lifecycle management of data within the workflows, and OCR, label extraction, those kind of processes, and landmark detection again, and the terms that are important in the API interoperability processes. And I want to talk about those items with you today. Also, I mean, we are not professionally doing this. We were just informaticians working on this area specifically on fish and metadata extraction, and we happen to be involved in this. So we want to hear your experiences in this field, specifically metadata extraction, new terminology in the computer vision, AI, ML workflows, and batch processing, uh, all those kind of things. And I want to leave the floor to you guys to share your experiences about what you are actually doing with the data, and what kind of metadata problems you came across with, and what was your solutions.
Yeah, it could have been fun.
Yeah, we have a couple things in the chat that I think we should bring up, but I think, Ben, do you want to say something first to help frame?
I got a lot of questions, but why don't we? Well, let me start with this one. So, on your slides, can you go back to your metadata scheme slide, the one where you've got the sort of the knowledge graph chart?
I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Okay.
Sure.
This schema, right?
That one. So in your comments on this slide, and then your comments follow up, you go through a lot of scopes, like things that have to deal with image quality, things have to do with media, things have to do with text, like a lot of different areas. Some of those are already handled by Tabwig. Some are within the scope of other vocabularies. Things like audiovisual core deal with the media files, things, right? A lot of these are already part of Darwin Core standards, depending on where you are. So when you develop these terms in your metadata scheme, did you consult those standards first, and then did you define these terms as you created them, and then make sure you use them consistently, right? I guess that's the
So
first question.
don't trust this slide, because this could be old. Xiaojun
But
can tell you better, but there are different versions of the vocabulary that we are using in the Fisher website. So
okay,
we first started like making up those field names, and then we said,
right,
oh, like there are Darwin core terms, there are Audubon core, or like audiovisual, and plus there are other non-Tadwig terminology out there.
yeah,
So we search for each of those terms that we are using in other vocabularies or other standards, and then if we can find them, then we use them. If we couldn't find them, we just leave them there as they are. So
awesome.
this is not the this may not the most current form.
That's
I'm
okay.
just mentioning
Yeah,
about the structure here.
yeah. That's the point. That's where I'm getting to. So, because the structure is that, so you've got several scopes, right, of how you want to do it. Now, machine learning, computer vision models are fairly new. Those are handled by the machine. What's it called? The machine observations group is sort of doing some things with that. That stuff is not really in Tabwik Center, which we need to at some point. It's on the list of how to handle metadata associated explicitly with computer vision modeling, like the model version, download, all that kind of narrow sort of things. But the other stuff is already part of other standards and how you sort of work this out, and narrowing those scopes is really important. You know what I mean? And figuring out where those overlapping things are. Because if it's already handled by a TABWIC standard, it's like, well, you just probably should just consult that standard for that particular scope. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Sort of
yes,
narrowing.
absolutely.
Because you said donating terms. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by donating terms. You said you'd like to, as the purpose was that.
So we made up some terms that are useful, and we
Yeah.
couldn't find them anywhere. And we are not a standards institution or nothing. So we want those to be used by some other people, so that not donating like from one standard to another. It is like we have that experience, so we would like to share this with Tadvik. And actually, whatever you guys do with this is up. This is up to you, but we want to be involved during this process, so that if you
Sure.
have any questions, like, hey, like what is this contains scale bar, for example, then we will explain it to you if it is not clear. So it is like that kind of thing.
And I
Again,
want to bring a question. I want to bring a comment in the chat into the conversation because it's related. So Wouter put a link in the chat to the terms that Disco is using in the OpenDS model for images. So I think a kind of similar starting place, slightly different application, but they borrowed terms from standards where available, and then some terms are in their ODS local namespace. So I think I'm not sure if your vision for this task group, Yassine, is to align multiple projects that are going on that are kind of getting at the same thing into a standard, or if you're really having a narrow focus on just the fish air vocabulary for now.
so fish air is the vocabulary that we are using. However, this should be like there are some common terminology in there that should be in the IDIC or GBIF kind of repositories. That should be the metadata coming from TADVIC or other standards institutions, right? So what we are trying to do with the IQAir is transferring some of those common terms to audiovisual, probably audiovisual work group, and then let them know about the availability of those terms that are being used by our system. They will decide, or we can help providing them the structure, and they will decide, like, okay, like we will embed this into our system or not. So
I would think that you would need to lead that effort instead of just like handing it to audiovisual core to do something with. Does that make sense? Like usually, like if you want something integrated, you sort of form this group and then follow the TADWIC process instead of saying, here, you guys use this, right? I mean, you're welcome
yeah,
to do that, right?
yes, but again, we are not exactly metadata people, and we are expecting some kind of mentoring, because this is our first time doing this in an official way. So as long as there are some people that will lead us how to do this,
Sure.
we are happy to do that. And this is aim of the task group, right?
Yeah, and this is a good time to get folks who are interested on board. Kate, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just to follow up real quick on task group within audiovisual core. I'm scared of raising my hand, but I did it. I think part of some of the folks, Ed Baker and a few others from audiovisual core, happy to follow up with you guys on how to go forward with putting things together on the audiovisual core side. So it's cool to see, yeah, some of the terms lining up. And I'm curious to hear too from Wouter on the ODS side of stuff too. But yeah, if and as a heads up too, a shameless plug at noon, the audiovisual core working sessions happening. So if it helps to regroup there.
Yeah, I highly recommend attending that working session for sure. Yeah. Thank you, Kate.
So again, this is about sharing our experiences with each other, and then uh, talking about the already available ones. Well, I think we will do that once we start actually working on those terms one by one, and probably the ones that are very relevant to the fish will not be considered for that list, and then we will try to extract which metadata specifically works for what purpose, and probably we didn't record those accurately. We tried our best, and they were useful for us in that form. And we appreciate any kind of help and discussions on any of those terms.
Patricia?
Yes, well, it probably exists already in other standards, but in that large EU II project I'm now, one of the info that they need machine readable is really the terms of use. If the image can be used by AI in the first place, and these robots at best would need to know with some sort of controlled vocabularies agreed, can I use that image? And yes, for what purpose? And I see in the Discord there is something about how it has to be cited and so on. But this becomes more and more important with all the rules, and there might also be some kind of ethical things if what is in the image is appropriate or not. And it would be fantastic if something could be in the metadata that those robots know what to do and don't do anything illegal or ethical. Maybe that's unethical. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but that comes back all the time when we have being now images or text or anything processing. That it's very difficult that these robots know automatically what they can and cannot do.
So is this about a licensing issue at the same time?
Among others, yes.
Sensitive
Some
content?
terms of use or some images, the owner doesn't want them. They might publish them somewhere, but they don't want them to be used as training data set for some reason, or only for certain purposes and not for others. So, and this is something in the working groups that sitting at EU level comes back all the time. How to handle these legal aspects and how can this be automated? Because of course we cannot go check every single image if we can legally use it or not.
I want to bring a comment from earlier in the chat in here because I think it kind of ties in. Ricardo was asking, I think specifically to you, Yassine, if you are processing images from GBIF to extract data. I think many of these images already have some data associated, organized as an occurrence, and in the media extension. So I mean, I guess my point in bringing that up is that a lot of we have so many images on GBIF already that have license information that probably does not include anything about use for any AI applications.
So when we say AI applications, those are real people that we are working with in our projects, and they are using AI as tool, like they are developing models to extract information from those images. So this is not being used like a ChatGPT kind of LLMs or like independently independent agents that are doing data analysis. So all of our attempts were either scientists or engineers, like a person is on the other end, and they are building AI and using the data set for their scientific or whatever purposes. And it is not just free AI agents or LLMs or nothing like this. So I'm not sure about this, but that could be included in this as well. I don't know if Tadwig has an AI relevant task group, work group. Um, if not, we are happy to cover that. And yes, that is very important. And I believe this is under AI. What is the term? AI safeguard, something like this. There is an entire topic that they are covering those kind of issues. And yes, that this is very important and this needs to be covered. But there are also licenses so that there could be an additional license item under something like Creative Commons for that. So like there are business specific items, there are general purpose, there could be like AI specific another item, in my opinion.
And Kate just put a link in the chat for something called C2PA, which I don't know anything about. So if you want to say anything more about it, please feel free.
Off the top of my head, I cannot remember what that acronym stands for, but there seem to be a lot of like provenance and or well, AI oriented slash machine learning maybe oriented data recommendations within that, metadata recommendations within that. We had heard about it through our DAMS vendor actually, and I think for photographers working in like different historically significant in retrospect types of events, like these offer ways for them to indicate like the authenticity of their images. The specific link that I put in though might be more relevant to what Patricia was just bringing up too. But that said, I haven't also looked super closely at this one. But if they have a spec that addresses some of those issues, it might be something helpful for us.
And I mean, this is probably something that Tadwig needs to think about more broadly and holistically across. It's not a narrow issue. So, any other experience in your own institutions or thoughts about Yasin's presentation to share with this group? Also, Wouter, if you'd like to jump in, please, too.
Yeah, I can. For what Patricia was mentioning, metadata that tells AI what it can do in an image. I think that is a bit beyond scope of that WIC. That is more general for all images in the world that are online. So I will probably not focus on that. But what would be very interesting is AI is capable of annotating images, and in particular in biodiversity images. I'm thinking now about specimen images, but this could also apply for observation images. There are, as far as I know, no standard vocabularies for annotating what is in the image or what is the quality of the image. So things like, does a specimen image has a solid background? Is the object completely visible? Is there a stamp? Is there a paper with a watermark visible? Um, what is the quality of the specimen, the material object in the specimen derived from the image. These kind of things would be very interesting to have a standard vocabulary for that, because then you could have one annotation service, one AI that does one thing, and another AI builds on that and selects only the images that have some metadata attached to them. So that the AI knows, okay, these are images that are suitable for my job. So that I think would be could be a very interesting subject.
So it, in our case, the image quality, the data quality is not always about good images. It is desired data set. So sometimes machine learning people or the data consumers are asking for specifically bad quality images so that they can try their experience, their workflows or products, their models on the different quality levels. So the to be able to gather that information, we are extracting information such as blurriness, for example, or darkness or brightness or contrast kind of information, or how many colors in there in that particular image. However, this is also tricky because they are actually asking the specimen only, but there is a color bar in there in the digitized specimens. So the color bar says, okay, like I have all the colors. So like when you try to produce a color palette, it affects. So what we do is like we crop out the specimen specifically and then check the color integrity or color palette or histogram or those kind of things on that cropped part only. So that's the purpose, that's the aim. And then we provide this information to them. Or sometimes they want to work with like images that are captured together, the specimens, multiple specimens in the same digitization effort. So the difference between this and the singular specimens can worth value for them, or they are looking for that kind of challenge. So it depends. Sometimes they just ask like, hey, like I want only smooth images that has no problems, no visual problems. So the task here is produce as many metadata as possible, and then afterwards count the usability of those, like how many people search for that uh, term for filtering purposes. If we are extracting a metadata that will never be used, then what is the purpose? So this is how we think, and usually our experiences come from the end user, the data consumer. They ask us, hey, like those are good images, but some of those images are, let's say, out of focus. Then we try to capture the focus information. Sometimes they say those images are too small. Then we try to capture the size information or the dimensions, resolution, those kind of things. So our experiences are mostly coming from the desired parameters. So I don't know if this answer your question.
Yeah, I see two things there that you could do under Tetrick that could be interesting. So one is the metadata annotation. So you say I would like to have as many metadata as possible there, but it would be nice if that's standardized, because if one project annotates that like these images are blurry, and another project annotates that as these images are vague, then it will be difficult to have your calculations and using that. So standardizing these terms, that will be interesting, I think. As I mentioned before, you could also think about some having some standardized measurements about image quality. It's a bit similar to what we have in MIDS, where we try to create levels for completeness, for digitization completeness of specimens. So something like that you could also do. So it's about standardizing measurements on the envelope of the data, basically.
After we came up with those terms, we again searched the available terminology as much as we can. And then we even used extra terms from there, even after we had our list of terms. We used some of the, Xiaojun, correct me if I am wrong, we used some of the audiovisual core terminology, and we tried to match our terminology with theirs. So we donated those terms from there actually, and then the definitions and examples and everything. Let me know. I just posted the slides on the chat. Let me know if you guys have access to that document.
I think we need you to make those view. Anyone can view. Thank you so much for sharing those. And I can see them now.
Perfect. I think I missed most of the chat. I couldn't read during the while I was talking. So if you guys have posted anything and we have missed, please ask it away.
Aaron, you got your hand raised.
I'm going to ask a really silly question, probably, but segueing a bit. One of the things I was wondering about in response to Wouter, that idea about the MIDS, sharing the standardized package back with the users or the providers of the data. So my thought around this is GBIF has lots of stuff. It's held by other people. And if tools are being used to create data about the images that are held elsewhere, how do we get that back in a standardized form so that we can, those of us who have the images can make sure that it's packaged up and kept with the assets that we have, so that when it gets shared back to GBIF or with another aggregator somewhere else down the line, we can provide that information as well, so it's not kind of getting locked up and disappearing into the ether. Just don't know if that's something you've thought about or care about.
What we started doing this is when I first that was a task assigned to me. Just download the data and provide the data set to the machine learning people. And I was told it was very easy task. We had no clue. And once we downloaded, I saw like, oh, there are so many metadata items in there. I said, yeah, that's great. However, most of those metadata items were not related to us. And then the ones that were related, they were empty, like 90% of the time. And we were like, okay, like this is, we cannot use those. We limited 90% of the data set specifically from IDIC We downloaded all the images that are supposedly related to fish. Some of them were not fish and relevant to fish, but they are not fish. They are not fish images. And then some of them are notes and etc. Some of them are like nature photographs. Some of them are X-rays, CT scans, skeletons, paintings, all those like, and there is no information that this image is a painting or drawing. So we weren't able to use those, and we had to come up with those filtering metadata. And then we thought, okay, like we did that, but how about other people? Not everyone should go through the same process. So we created all those fields, specifically contents of the image or the multimedia object, and then provide this back to IDBio or GBIF. However, we cannot do this because we are not the standards producing organization or institute. So we said, okay, we will tell Tadwig that we use those metrics or those metadata, and then Tadwig will generate those, and then the data repositories will adapt adapt their system according to the newly generated metadata, so that everyone will benefit from that situation, such as like basic scale bar information. We couldn't find that. Most of the digitized specimens have scale bar or not. This is an important because for the measurement, especially if you are working with landmarks, for example, you want to know the size of the specimen. Then I need to know if there is a scale bar in there. The most basic thing. There is nothing like that. I am working with X-rays or radiograph images. I cannot filter out the data repositories to get only those images. So like those were very difficult for us, and we came up with those. And then I think this is the right path. Like if everyone brings their solutions directly or indirectly to the data repositories, then this is how things evolve.
Yeah, I think Bertie, you're onto something. If given what you just said, Yasin, if maybe as the task group you had a look at the way MIDS has structured its standard for the different levels, and you could say, in order to, for the task that you want to accomplish, here are the things that need to be provided at different levels, and you can define the levels. It's almost like a new discipline, and then you can define the terms, what levels they go at, and then that way those of us on the collection side can be like, okay, we can at least tell you ahead of time what we do and don't have. We're not going to be able to fill it in necessarily, but we can tell you ahead of time that we do or don't have. But I think, yeah, Valter, that's a really good idea, the MIDS, looking at the way MIDS has handled its stuff. I like that. Sorry, go ahead.
By the way, the best data we received, the best quality data we received are from when we reach out to the collections and when we ask them describe what we want, they provide the best best data.
Of course
But
we do.
it comes with that.
Because we know what we have, but we can't do that like for every single person that asks. We need a standardized way to provide it. So
that is true.
Thank you, collections. Yeah, we're great, but we're only, a small part of the puzzle, right? we have a lot of people asking us for stuff.
Pat, you've got
Thank
your
you.
hand up also.
Yeah, well, actually, the descriptors for the images you just cited mostly already exist in Tedwick or other image standards, but it doesn't mean because they exist that people will add them to the image. So even if you have a standard, there's no guarantee that if you search for images that this information will appear. However, with the strength of IA, we could do it the other way around, that your IA is retrieving this information automatically from the images and then annotates them in a standard way. And then you can add this information to images who don't have them to make them more usable. So I think we have to see the issue the other way around.
I think it's a bit of both, right, Patricia? It's the the CMSs and the collections need the tools to do what you're saying, which is
Yeah.
run
Yeah,
their
yeah,
images through an AI tool that fills in the gaps, and then it goes out to the aggregators. Because if the aggregators build those tools and it just ends up there, then it stays there. So that means the next project coming along doesn't get everything that they need necessarily, because they may ask the collection or wherever they get their data from, that it's kind of now disconnected from that core data set. So I think you're right. There's a tool that needs to go to the collections people first, so they can do what they need to do, put the data out, and then people can grab it from the aggregators. I guess is where I'm kind of going with that.
So yes, here's what I did. I went through your metadata. Most of your terms in your the multimedia and the copyrights, those terms do exist in audiovisual core. It's not readily apparent though. A lot of them, like it's like you've got ARC IDs, which is awesome, right? URLs, great. Typically standards, we don't specify the type of identifier for a reason, and I'm not going to get into all the details there. But we'll say identifier, right? And identifiers need to be certain things. So it could be an ARC, it could be a UID, it could be a lot of different things. So a lot of them are already there, except for the image quality metadata class. All of those terms are not really there at all. And so what you could do is recommend like an extension to audiovisual core that's this class. Like here's the image quality metadata class. These are our terms. You could put it in and it would function. If you go to the audiovisual core term page, you'll see classes, different categories of things that you would basically add that category of terms to audiovisual core, either as an extension or just part of the base vocabulary. Because I don't think any of those do. I mean, I went through them, and a lot of them I just sort of picked out, but those, are fairly all new, and they're good. I mean, they're really important. All of them make sense. You don't know like stuff with documentation here, which is really good. It makes it easy to go through and just pick stuff out real fast. But for sure, that's what I'd recommend. Yeah, take a look at, and then have the audiovisual core folks look at it, because I'm not on that group, but Kate's on it. I'll point to Kate again. She's on that group. And Voucher too with OpenDS. Those guys have their own vocabularies for these things.
Yeah, I signed up for that meeting as well. I will be there. I haven't been in that meeting before. I don't know what this group was doing. We checked the terminology back in the time, but that was some time ago. So I will try to follow up with that with the Kate or relevant people.
I sent you an email with the mappings. I just did them real fast, and I sent you it all with comments, and you'll see. It's in an email.
Tick the box. Ben did it.
Some are like comment, like like batch name, project name, that kind of stuff. It's come up before. There's a reason Tably does a certain thing a certain way. Totally makes sense why it's in there, but like just a way of sort of thinking about it and just comment. Yeah, I get it.
Just teasing you, Ben. Just teasing.
I know you.
Yes, and this has been a really good conversation and helpful to get to hear more about how you all are thinking about this task group. We just have a couple minutes left. Do you want to close with any thoughts or I don't know, call for participation or next steps, such and so forth.
I have one more ask. If this is okay for you guys, we are going for an NSF proposal very relevant to this topic, AI readiness, image quality, and metadata, plus how we are handling all those in the infrastructure, cyber infrastructure. So if anybody is interested joining in that, can you let us know either by filling out that form? Bahadur, can you put that form in the chat? If you are interested collaborating with us on that particular or in future proposals that we are working on, please let us know through that form. Or one question: how we are going to proceed with the probably Ben is going to send me an email about the details, and we will work together. I didn't get back to your email from last week, by the way. I didn't forget though. I was just very busy. So we are supposed to get together with a team, and we have some timeline on the IQAir Tadwig page. So we are planning to meet those deadlines and everything. And do we need to have a group, mail group?
I think how you keep in touch with folks is up to you for your task group, but a lot of task groups do have a little email list that the conveners keep track of.
Mm-hmm. And
I
we
do
have
want
the email list for the participants, right?
I can send you the participant list, but people need to let you know if they'd like to be included in the task group. So
Do you
they
want
can.
us? I mean, we can put. I mean, we don't have access to the agenda or anything, but that's how some of the other groups have handled it. Like, if people want to join the mailing list, we put our email in your agenda.
So Bahadur just posted the form. If you have access to this form, you can put your information in there if you are interested in joining either the one of those work packages, or if you are interested in collaborating in the proposal. We can use the same for both purposes. Will that work for everyone?
That sounds like a great idea. Unfortunately, I do want to just be respectful of folks' time and try and keep us on track. So I'm going to close this out. But thank you so much, Yassine, and to your colleagues who helped get this to where it is. And the recording will be posted soon. Thank you all.
Thank you, Erika. Thank you, Ben. Thank you all. See you next time.
Have good days.